Following is a presentation of the Healthcare Facilities Network. Hello, and welcome to the Healthcare Facilities Network. I am your host, Peter Martin, president of Gosselin Martin Associates. As always, I appreciate you clicking on this particular video. And today, I am happy and I am pleased to introduce Carol McCormick, my guest for today. Carol, welcome.
Thank you, Peter. Glad to be here.
Well, thank you for joining. So Carol retired from healthcare facilities management at the end of this year. Did you write on January 1st or December 31st?
Actually, January 7th.
January. So
and a tip for those people thinking about retiring, if you, at least with my employer, if I at least work 1 or 2 days of the month, I had health care coverage for that whole month. So Peter, it's funny the things you learn in retirement about how to do certain things. So yeah, so I retired on the 7th of January. Yeah.
Awesome. And that's why I asked Carol if she could come back on. So just whenever you watch this particular video, because they do live on YouTube, we are recording during the heart of the summer. It's July 10th. Is it July 10th or 11th, right? So you've been retired 6 months.
It's about 6 months. Yeah. Yep.
Carol, where are you right now? Because you are the first person to appear at a location like this. Where are you?
Believe it or not,
where are you sitting? What are you sitting in?
I'm sitting in my motorhome, the motorhome that we bought so that we could retire and travel. But funny enough, it is actually sitting in my driveway at home in Glenwood, Iowa. We just got home yesterday, so yeah.
Where did you get back from?
We got back from Lake Anita State Park, which is one of the many state parks in Iowa. It's a little lake. They dammed up a little creek. You could do a lot of kayaking. There's, the wake is a no wake lake. So there's a lot of fishing, kayaking, bike riding, sitting around the campfire, things of that nature. We were there with 5 other couples. So it was fun. We had a good time. We spent about 5 days there. Yeah.
Nice. So I want to jump into what you're doing now. Carol had appeared on our high reliability podcast probably 2 years ago now. And then when you were on the high reliability podcast, right before you retired, you talked about how you had always planned on getting your mobile home and traveling the country. So I kind of want to talk to you a little bit about that. But first, before we go that route, Carol, how has retirement been for you? What you thought it would be relative to leaving work? Do you miss it? Are there times where you're nostalgic? How has it been these 6 months?
It's been wonderful, really. No offense to those lovely people that I worked with. I love them dearly. But I don't miss it. I really don't. I've been busy with some issues with family, and then been busy traveling a little bit. And I've only been back once to say hi.
Okay.
And I've only got maybe half a dozen phone calls. What about this? So I either left them nothing, or I left them enough stuff that they managed to get by. But it's been really good. I really don't miss going to work, Peter. I don't miss it at all. So.
That's great. It's funny because people like this. There are some folks who retire and they just want to stay involved a little bit and kind of maintain the retirement life, but also keep a foot back in there. And so you're in that other bucket where you washed your hands and you moved along.
Well, sort of. I'm still an ASHE member. Okay. I still, get the magazine. I still read the magazine. I still, when the man you worked for is going to be ASHE president next year, you stay a little connected. I worked with Scandivarel for a number of years. And I think, honestly, Peter, if things were a little different with my own life and with not having some of the parental health issues that I have right now, I might have, if the right thing would have come along, I might have said yes. Mm-hmm. But right now it's just not a good possibility for me. Mm-hmm. My intention was to actually probably be down near San Antonio in the first week of August.
Yeah.
And that just didn't work out. So at this point, God works in wonderful ways, and I'm available to help with my parents' health issues and still do a little bit of my traveling plans. And so that's what we're doing right now. But not to say that I've written off getting back into healthcare or doing some consulting stuff or something like that when the time's right, if the right person calls.
No, that makes a big difference when you can pick and choose
Yep.
who the right person is. So I guess I was going to ask you, and it doesn't sound like you're going to be there. You won't be at the ASHI annual down in San Antonio.
No, I won't. Like I said, that was the intention, but just a little too far away from home right now. So
Sure. Now, when we were talking before I hit the record button, you were talking about one of the things that you have found you missed from when you worked full time. What is that?
my IT friends, as much as we complained about the IT guys, right? Technology on the road in RV is very interesting. You don't have immediate access to Wi-Fi unless you get it all set up correctly in your motorhome and everything else. And so right now I'm living off the hotspot on my phone. But I might have to reach out to one of them and say, hey, help me get this set up better, so that it's like I warned you, Peter, at any point this screen could go blank and I won't even have any idea why. So yeah.
Well,
yeah,
that's why I want to ask that question, number one, Carol, because like you just said, if you go blank, then people will understand why. But also the other thing is, you said IT is always a convenient scapegoat. I mean, everybody can always point to IT, whether it's post-construction or when you don't have the money or when something doesn't work. So it's good to give the IT folks some positive visibility.
right.
So Carol, just last thing relative to kind of planning, did you when you were considering retirement, so when you were still working, I released an episode a couple of weeks ago. I talked to Jack Gosselin, who you know very well, my business partner,
Yes.
and Jack is, he's half in, half out, and Ed Brown. So we did a conversation with those two. They both have their captain's license now, so they're on the water here on the East Coast. You're in the middle of the country on the land, and they were talking about some of the things that they had planned for in advance of retirement relative to finances and what your retirement going to cover, and different areas. For you, when you considered retirement, what did you take into consideration before you made the move to retire, to walk away?
Peter, my original intention was to work 3 more years than I did.
Oh, okay.
I really had not planned to retire, until 2025, and I ended up retiring in 2023. But most of it was financial. You go, you see your financial guy, and at one point, he said, you can go anytime, you're ready. You've done a nice job with your, whatever. And I really think we'll be good. And so, then my wife and I started having more serious conversations, I guess, about it. And we just decided that, life is short. And, if we could do it and we weren't going to put ourselves at risk financially to get it done. And our dream always was to buy this motorhome and travel the country and see things. We wanted to be able to see them while we, could still do it, while we could still enjoy it, while we could still, hop in a kayak or hop on our bikes or, grab our trekking poles and go wherever we wanted to go. And, none of us are getting any younger. So we decided, hey, let's go for it. Let's go for it. So a lot of our friends were retiring at the same time. And I think maybe that had an effect on us as well. Not necessarily keep up with the Joneses, but just you know, it's encouraging to see others that are in the same space being able to do. We have very, very good friends. As a matter of fact, they're our next door neighbors that retired a year earlier than we did and are doing the same thing that we're doing. And so we tend to meet up here and there. As a matter of fact, we were camping with them this weekend. So it's that's kind of how it went. And I'll be real honest with you, Peter. You know, COVID kind of pushed me a little bit too. COVID wore us all out, really did. And you know, I was lucky enough to be able to play a major role in my health system's response to COVID, but it was exhausting. It really was. Yeah. It was tiring. And healthcare, you know, healthcare changed dramatically. And so it was just those combination of things pulling together to help us to make the decision to go a little earlier than we had originally planned. Yeah,
I don't think you'd ever, you know, you got the finance part taken care of. I don't think you would ever regret that decision, right? To step away a little bit early, because you look back at the experiences that you have and you're like, that was fantastic.
Right. Yeah. I feel very blessed by it.
Yeah. You know, I was talking to a person last week kind of about that, and he was talking about stress, and he feels this and that, and you know, he doesn't want to wait too long. He's not retired, but he's thinking about it. And I said that to him, because you hear those stories about people who kind of hang on and then they never get the chance to enjoy retirement because something changes on them, and that's a regret you have. You don't regret the other way.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
You are.
Well, and I'll tell you, Peter, you know, you mentioned stress. And until I retired, I never knew how little I liked or disliked, I should say, Sunday nights. You know, I noticed myself saying, oh, it's Sunday night, but it's okay. I don't have to get up and go to work tomorrow. You know, not that I didn't like going to work. Don't get me wrong. But there's just not that inherent stress level that you're going to have when you go to work. And I think we all know that there is a decent amount of stress associated with healthcare facilities management. So
yeah. Well, you know, and it's funny you say that, because I've often described, for me, at different points in my life, one of them when I was still a kid and I was in school, and another was a couple of jobs where, I mean, I really love what I do now. This is a lot of fun to do this stuff. And so I have different stresses, obviously, but I don't get that knot in my stomach. And I used to describe it that way. I would get that knot when I was doing something I didn't like, whether it was a job or whether it was school. Here on the East Coast, especially during the fall, as soon as I heard that 60-minute song coming out of football, you'd watch football, and then you'd hear tick, 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 tick. It would almost, that stress would almost amplify, because you knew, all right, Sunday's over. I got to do either work tomorrow or I got school. And were you aware of that stress, or did you become more aware of it after you retired and you're like, hey, I don't feel that anymore?
That's what it was, Peter. I was not aware of that stress at all when I was working, but once I retired and then I didn't have it anymore, that's when I realized, boy, I was maybe a little bit more stressed out than I thought I was.
That's really interesting
about things going on at work. Yeah.
Wow, that's a really good realization, and a positive realization.
Yeah. You bet.
So I had reached back out to you, I think it was probably a month ago or maybe 6 weeks ago now. You know, I knew that Carol was traveling and wanted to see the country via the mobile home. And I was talking to another person weeks ago, right before I contacted you, and he told me when he retires, he wants to go the mobile home route. And that got me thinking of you. And I'm like, so there's more Carols out there. There's more people who want to retire and travel. So it got me thinking, well, how big, you know, you're sitting in your mobile home right now. how big is your mobile home? Had you ever had a mobile home before? And what's it been like, the reality of it? This is Peter Martin. If you or your organization is interested in advertising or partnering with the Healthcare Facilities Network, including sponsoring content, then please email me using the barcode in the lower right of your screen. From the trades level to the vice president level, from planning, design, construction, project management, compliance, safety, and security, the Healthcare Facilities Network reaches FM people where FM people are.
You know, we never had owned a mobile home before. Our mobile home is relatively small when it comes to things. You know, when we started looking, you know, it's like, okay, do we want a mobile home? Do we want to pull a fifth wheel? Do we want to just have a travel trailer? And we decided that the mobile home was the route we wanted to go. We started looking, and these things, you know, you can get tiny ones that are 27 feet long, and you can get ones that are 45 feet long. Ours is a 31-foot mobile home. And
Okay.
then we tow a GMC Canyon behind it. So when we're going down the road, we're almost as long as semi-trailer.
That's good size.
That's a good size.
Yeah.
It's a good size. But both of us had we'd driven larger vehicles before. You know, when you're raised on a farm or a cattle ranch, you tend to get to drive big things. And so both of us had done that before. So that piece of it wasn't so bad. You know, so we went looking, and you know, we bought one that you know, fits our lifestyle. It's my wife and I on our 2 golden doodles, and you know, there's more than enough room for all 4 of us. So
Yeah.
except for the dogs think that the couch is theirs, but that's a different story that we don't probably need to go into. So
Yeah, I think all dogs think that they're that the couch is in the house or the mobile home are theirs.
Yep.
So 31 feet, we had, when I was a senior in college, we took a 28-footer from Milwaukee down to South Padre Island for spring break. And there were 7 of us in that thing. And it was we slept, 3 of us would always sleep on the roof once we got there, but 28 feet was a pretty good size. So 31 must be comfortable for you guys.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, you can pull out the couch. You can sleep on the couch if somebody needs to. It has a queen size bed in it. There's a single bed that drops down from above where the drivers and passenger seats are. So you know, if you know, we need to get away from each other, one of us can be in the back, one of us can be in the front. So yeah, and then you have the great outdoors. You know, you have your awning that comes out and your chairs, and you know, there's more to it than just being inside the motorhome.
Right. So I know, and you've alluded to it, I know that you haven't been able to get as far away as you wanted due to some family issues, but relative to your travels so far, where have you gone and what have you seen?
You know, mostly we have stayed in the Nebraska and Iowa area. It is amazing and I encourage everybody to do this. It's amazing what you have right in your backyard that you don't know about, you know?
Yeah.
We spent a couple weeks in a small town, Gothenburg, Nebraska, which is about 30 miles away from where my parents live. And yeah, you just get on the internet and you say, okay, what is there to see? I know more about the Pony Express than I did before I retired. There's an artist, his name is Robert Henry. And, you know, I'm not into a whole lot of art, but he spent a number of years as a young man in a town named Cozad, Nebraska. You know, some of his artwork is in the Museum of Art in New York.
Wow.
So, you know, and so we walk into this place one day. We're the only people in there. And the museum director gives us a personal tour, not only of, you know, the museum piece of it, but then takes us over into the art gallery and literally explains every piece of art in that place to us. We spent 2 hours in this very small museum in Cozad, Nebraska, learning about this guy. It's really super interesting. You know, We spent some time in Southwest Iowa at a state. We tend to go to the state parks. They're a little less expensive than like an RV resort. They have less amenities, but that's okay, you know. So by a small town, Clarinda, Iowa, it's where Glenn Miller was born, and so we went to the Glenn Miller Museum. You know, also in this small Iowa town, they turned their old library is now Carnegie Art Museum. And the traveling exhibit was an exhibit. All of the artwork was done by either African artists or African American artists. It was fascinating. It was fascinating. And it's literally an hour from where I've lived since 1994, you know?
Yeah.
So although we haven't been able to go to the big places, you know, I was hoping this summer maybe we get up into the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and some places like that. Although we have not been able to do that, if you find it, you know, it's I'm sure right in your backyard if you just look.
Yeah.
So, and then we really like to play golf, and so we like to go to all these tiny little 9-hole golf courses that are out in the sandhills of Nebraska, or you know, down in the canyons of Iowa or whatever. And so we found some very inexpensive yet nice golf courses to play. So.
Well, that's awesome. I should say too, you know, as I was listening to you talk, obviously, I know that, you know, you worked in Omaha, Nebraska, big Creighton Blue Jay fan. We've talked about that before, but just for people listening, kind of your home base is Iowa, Nebraska, and you retired out of a CommonSpirit Catholic Health Initiatives hospital in Omaha. So
right.
That's just as a little bit of background. So do you guys plan, or do you just see where kind of the day takes you, or do you just go on a whim? How do you determine?
We usually plan to, we say, what I'll do, I'm the planner, and I'll find where we want to stay.
Okay.
So, you know, you don't want to have this 31-foot mobile home going down the road and then you don't have anywhere to park it.
Yeah.
You know,
yes.
Our dream in life is not to sleep in the Walmart parking lot, right? so you find a place, and then we'll tend to stay for a couple weeks.
Okay. I was going to ask that.
You know, some of my health care facilities brethren will just laugh at me. I got an atlas and, you know, and everything. And then I made myself a template, cut a hole in the middle of it, and I can look and see what's in the 60-mile radius, no matter where I put it on the map. So awesome. I tend to do that. I plant that on the map and say, okay, well, here's all these places. And then I use the internet and I go look and see what is there to do. You always Google breweries near me from wherever you're at, so you can find some good beer. And you check out what golf courses are around, and then what there is to see. Now, once we get to the point where we're able to go a little further away, I plan more. You know, which national park do we want to go to? Like I mentioned earlier, I really want to go up to the Upper Peninsula to the UP of Michigan, probably next summer. At this point is what that will be. We have friends that live in Williamsburg, Virginia, that eventually we will make our way all the way down there. And on those kind of trips, it probably won't be as well planned between here and there.
Sure.
So, you know, we've kind of had to change our thought about how we were going to do it. We were going to be more wanderers, but since we kind of have to stay closer to home and find things to do, so to speak, we've planned a little bit more that way.
So you've certainly been able to fill your days. You have not been bored at all. Yeah. It doesn't sound like.
No, never.
When being
in this place as I do in my house, you know. So,
Carol, when we were talking about IT stuff. When you move, you freeze out a little bit.
Oh, okay. Hold still.
You don't have to necessarily hold still, but sometimes for whatever reason the sound goes. Maybe I'll do a commercial for you if you're an IT person who can help Carol on that part of it. Feel free to reach out. I'll put your email address. They can reach out to you. So if you me being a weather nerd that I am, I know that through that part of the country you've had some pretty good thunderstorms rolling through this spring, a little bit into the summer. Have you encountered any, from a weather perspective, have you encountered anything that was concerning or interesting?
A little bit, we haven't, there haven't been any tornado warnings or anything like that. But the thing that we learned that we have to watch for a lot is the wind. Of course, we knew that we weren't going to drive it in the wind. If the wind's, you check the wind before you leave, and if the wind's going to blow 30 miles an hour, we're going to probably stay put. It's just, it's not worth it. I don't have to be somewhere, right? So I can stay wherever I'm at. But on our particular RV, we have one side of it, the whole side slides out. And then there are little like awnings over the slide. Okay. Well, if it's too windy, those things whip around and they can get torn and ripped and so forth. And so there's been a few days where we had to spend the day in the RV with the slides in, which makes it pretty small, but other than that, that really, that's really all the problems we've had. Last week, where we were at, it rained all day long on Friday, but it wasn't windy. It was just rainy. Yep. The retired farmers we were with were thrilled. So we went to the Iowa Aviation Museum in Greenfield, Iowa, because it was raining all day. So we went there, and then we went into the little greenfield and had a nice lunch, and you always find something to do. You can always find something to do.
You really paint a nice picture of retirement life.
Yeah, it is good, Peter. It really is. It's good.
Have there been any unexpected challenges that you've encountered being retired?
I wouldn't say real bad ones.
Yep.
These motorhomes are, a friend of mine who did this, she's since retired from this part of her retirement. But she says, you got to remember, you're driving your house 55 miles an hour down the road, and they rattle. First thing we do is we look for any loose screws once we get somewhere, and we have a little container we put all the loose screws in until we can figure out. I have a bug flying around in front of me now. But those little things like that, but nothing big. We haven't been dead along the side of the road or anything like that. So we've been lucky that way. But I also am now I belong to every RV group there is, and I just I read a lot of stuff about well, if this breaks, this is what we did. If that doesn't work, this is what we did. So yeah.
Do you operate out of a home base? Did you guys get rid of your home? Is the mobile home in, or do you have a place, whether it be a PO box or just something where things go if people need to reach you? Or
No, we still have a house.
You do?
We still have we sold our large home and then just bought a little 1-bedroom. My wife is like, no, I gotta have someplace to call home.
Yeah. Right.
And we live in a small town. You're not supposed to be able to put your mail on hold for more than 2 weeks, but we just put it on hold, and we go in and say hi to the postmaster and grab it when we're rolling back through. Full-time RVers a lot of people, they have a PO box. And then there are also services that you can use where you send your mail to a PO box, and then you say you get to Arizona for the winter, you get somewhere, they will send you your mail.
Okay.
Now, I have a good friend that lives here. She picks my mail up once a week, takes a picture of it, and I said, okay, open that one, open that one, open that one. So I guess the biggest challenge when you go back and think about it, I tend to forget about it now that it's all over and done with, but about a week and a half after I retired, we were already out in North Platte, Nebraska with my parents. And we lived there for 3 months right after I retired. But this friend of mine that gets my mail, she sends it to us once a week, and she takes this picture and she says, okay, I'm sending this to you right away. Well, it was from the IRS. And we got audited.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
You know what? Luck of the draw. You know, 2 weeks after you retire,
could have audited you for how many years before, and now they pick
yeah. So you know, my wife had to come back here. I stayed out in North Platte. My wife had to come back here and get some things done. But honestly, that's the biggest challenge we've had since we went on the road, so to speak.
So and I know part of it's probably relative to how things shake out for you, but in theory, when winter comes, obviously you're in the middle of the country, you still experience cold and snow. Is your thought to drive the mobile home, Arizona, go where it's warm, or?
Yeah, at this point, our plans are to leave the Midwest, you know, in early December.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be back sometime in March. If we're thinking if we leave in December, we can kind of take our time getting down to Arizona, where we'll spend most of the winter.
Yep.
I have a sister that lives down there, and we'll stay near her. We won't stay with her, but we'll stay near where she's at. And then, you know, if something comes up and I need to come home for some reason, I won't be too far from Phoenix. I can hop on a plane and get back to home if they need me, if somebody needs me. So plan is 4 months down in the Southwest somewhere. So,
Nice.
yeah.
It's last question, Carol, and this is it's not even meant to be philosophical, but I guess it's not. But I was just thinking, as you were talking about, you know, what you've learned relative to all of these places that exist around you that you can go to, that you just never really have the time to do so, or you just don't think about it because you're busy working. Have you learned anything like relative to, I'm sure you've come across all different types of people too in your travels. Is there anything that's kind of stuck out to you as you're meeting people from all walks of life in all different environments?
People are inherently good. You know, I mean, you'll go to a campground and the art, they call it the RV community, but you go to a campground and, you know, you take your bikes out of the truck and you take your canoes off the rack and you pull your lawn chairs out and everything else, and you just leave it all sitting out for the week or two while you're there. You know, you might wrap the lock, you might put a big lock around the bikes around a tree while you're gone, but generally speaking, that kind of fear that you have, like you lock your house down when you're gone and everything else, for some reason that's kind of gone away. And I know that sounds very strange, but you know, we've met some really, really fun people. You know, one of the things that we do the first time we get somewhere is we'll go find a local cafe and we'll have breakfast and strike up conversations with whoever is sitting in there. And you can find some really cool things to go do that you probably aren't going to find in some tourist book, you know. So you got to talk to the locals that where to go, what to see. And a number of weeks in Gothenburg, Nebraska, like I said, and they had a YMCA. Both of us love to swim, so we went and we used their pool every day. And we met a woman that came in there. She was a Lutheran minister. So we went to her church one Sunday and then had lunch with her, and you know, and she told us all about the area and what to do and the good restaurants to go see. Going back to answer your question is, you know, 99.9% of the population is good and trustworthy and just fun to be around. You know?
Yeah, that's good. That's good to hear. I'll tell you, you paint a very attractive picture of retirement. Last word from you, or for somebody who is considering retirement, or somebody who's kind of on that precipice but maybe holding back a little bit, what advice would you give them?
Don't be afraid to go do it. Don't, be a good planner, make sure that financially you can do it. Like I said, we went earlier than I thought we were going to. So we had healthcare. We had to find healthcare. You have to be able to afford that healthcare and whatnot. So you really got to kind of plan out, do your research. But if you think you can do it and you have plans, go have some fun. Go have some fun. Life is short. I always feel like I gave healthcare facilities management everything I could give them for a good long time.
Yeah.
And so now I'm playing a little bit. I'm not gonna say that I won't get back to something someday, but at this point, Peter, I'm in no hurry to do that. So.
Awesome. Well, Carol McCormick, thank you for your time today. And if you and your wife ever find yourself up here in New England, and we're a small region out here. It's not like out in the Midwest where you can drive 5 hours and you're still in the same state. You drive 5 hours here, you're up in Canada. So if you're ever in the New England area, let me know. Would love to meet you at a local cafe or brewery.
All right, Peter. I'll take you up on that. Absolutely.
Please do.
Thank you so much. Thank you
so much. Good luck, Carol.
much.
It's great to talk to you.
You too, Peter. Thank you.
My pleasure. So this is Peter Martin for the Healthcare Facilities Network. That's Carol from the RV in Iowa. Thank you all for joining us today, and I hope you learned something. Thank you for watching this episode of the Healthcare Facilities Network.